The top stories: Ethiopian government finds it unfortunate the United States continues exerting undue pressure on Ethiopia. And ambassadors say Ethiopia should not be distracted by foreign meddling and external pressures. Hello, many thanks for joining us. You're watching Addis News Hour with the news. I'm Tabitha John. Do stay with us. The government of the Federal Democratic Republic of Ethiopia finds it unfortunate to learn about the decision by the United States to continue exerting undue pressure on Ethiopia. A press statement reflecting on the United States' decision to impose visa restrictions on Ethiopian officials sends a wrong signal at a time when Ethiopia is gearing up to hold national elections, which is expected to usher in a new political dispensation in the country. Emmanuel Jorge presents the story.
The government of the Federal Democratic Republic of Ethiopia finds it unfortunate to learn about the decision by the United States to continue exerting undue pressure on Ethiopia by imposing visa restrictions on Ethiopian officials. This is in addition to its previous decision to restrict economic and security assistance to Ethiopia. In this regard, the Ethiopian government would like to state the following points. This decision came at a time when the Ethiopian government has been engaging positively and constructively with the U.S. administration on issues of common concern. This was the spirit with which the Ethiopian government welcomed the U.S. Special Envoy for the Horn of Africa, Mr. Jeffrey Feltman, who met and held extensive consultations with senior government officials, including the Prime Minister. It also sends a wrong signal at a time when Ethiopia is gearing up to hold national elections, which is expected to usher in a new political dispensation in the country. The sixth national election would pave the way for an inclusive dialogue once a new government assumed office. Hence, at this important juncture, the Ethiopian government was expecting support and understanding and not such kind of ill-advised measures to unnecessarily overshadow the elections. Ethiopia attaches great importance to its historic and friendly relationship with the United States, which has stood the test of time. That is why the government finds it extremely regrettable that the implications of the visa restrictions and other related measures taken earlier will seriously undermine this long-standing and important bilateral relationship. What is even more saddening is the tendency by the U.S. administration to treat the Ethiopian government on an equal footing with the TPLF, which was designated as a terrorist organization by the House of People's Representatives 2 weeks ago. There is nothing more revealing than this to understand the misguided approach by the administration. The Ethiopian government has been consciously working to promote national dialogue through a series of engagements with wider sections of the Ethiopian society, not because it was pushed from outside, but because it believes that this is the right thing to do to build the necessary national consensus in the country and chart out a better way forward. But it should be understood that the government cannot be compelled to sit down and negotiate with the TPLF, which has already been labeled as a terrorist organization, and any sort of attempt to resuscitate the terrorist group would be counterproductive and untenable. As the Ethiopian government has made it clear time and again, the attempt by the U.S. administration to meddle in its internal affairs is not only inappropriate, but also completely unacceptable. Ethiopia should not be told how to run and manage its internal affairs. As far as alleged human rights abuses committed in Tigray region are concerned, the Ethiopian government is fulfilling its commitment to hold those responsible accountable. The Federal Attorney General Office has announced the outcome of its investigative work and the important steps taken towards ensuring accountability and justice. The Ethiopian Human Rights Commission and the United Nations Office of High Commissioner for Human Rights have already embarked on their joint independent investigation. Upon the invitation of the Ethiopian government, the African Commission on Human and People's Rights is also undertaking its investigations. Furthermore, the Ethiopian government has not only demonstrated its willingness and commitment to work with the international community to respond to the humanitarian crisis in Tigray, but it has also provided full and unhindered access for humanitarian actors to operate in all parts of the region. It has been doing all it can by mastering its meager resources and that of partners to reach out to all people in dire need of urgent assistance. The humanitarian actors operating on the ground know full well that the challenge at hand is related to issues of capacity and additional resources and not so much about access. After the series of engagements with international partners, including the US, and the tangible progress made in addressing some of the prevailing challenges, the decision by the US administration to impose visa restrictions and other measures is not only regrettable, but will also seriously harm and undermine the constructive spirit of engagement and the significant gains achieved on the ground, not to mention the centuries-old people-to-people relationships. If such a resolve to meddle in our internal affairs and undermining the century-old bilateral ties continues unbated, the government of the Federal Democratic Republic of Ethiopia will be forced to reassess its relations with the United States, which might have implications beyond our bilateral relationship. The Ethiopian government will not be deterred by this unfortunate decision of the US administration. It will continue its relentless efforts to overcome current challenges and lead the country on the path of lasting peace and prosperity. No doubt, the task ahead is daunting, but with the support and unity of our people, we remain confident that we shall overcome our difficulties and realize the hopes and aspirations of generations of Ethiopians for a peaceful and prosperous Ethiopia.
Ethiopian ambassador to the US, Fitsum Arega, called on the diaspora community to counter the improper pressure from the US and other international entities. The Ethiopian embassy based in Washington hosted a discussion that brought together 600 Ethiopians across the United States. Demis Mekriel has more.
The Ethiopian diaspora community living in the U.S. says they work to defend any internal and external attack targeting Ethiopia's sovereignty. This was expressed in a discussion hosted by the Ethiopian embassy based in Washington. More than 600 Ethiopian diaspora members participated in the discussion platform and voiced their concern against the unjust interference of foreign countries concerning Ethiopia's current situation. During the discussion, Ethiopian ambassador to the U.S. Fitsum Arega called on the diaspora community to consolidate their unity and thereby countering the improper pressure from the U.S. and other international entities. Participants of the discussion for their part said the U.S. position on Ethiopia is a direct and unjust interference in a sovereign country's internal affair. Accordingly, they vote to counteract the destructive engagement by the U.S. and other government entities. During the discussion, it was also expressed that members of the TPLF living in abroad are working to blackmail Ethiopia using the Ethiopian government law enforcement operation in Tigray as a pretext to their false propaganda. As a result, the diaspora members expressed their commitment to counter the intensified disinformation of TPLF cliques about the current situation of the country. They also vote to defend any interference aiming at stumbling the second filling of the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam. Meanwhile, permanent representative of Ethiopia to the UN, Ambassador Taye Atskaselasie said Ethiopians have to defend the pressure of foreign countries that aims at destabilizing the country. While addressing members of Ethiopian community living in the U.S. in a webinar conference, Ambassador Taye calls on Ethiopians to strengthen their unity so as to defend their country. Ambassador Taye also urges the diaspora community to use every means possible to uncover the real current situation in Ethiopia and thereby defending their country's national interest.
Ethiopia should not be distracted by foreign meddling and external pressures from doing what is best for its citizens, or else they might derail its fair pursuit to growth and prosperity. Zambian Deputy Ambassador to Ethiopia, John Chisaga, made the remark in an interview with ETV English. Meanwhile, Indonesian Ambassador to Ethiopia, Albusira Basnur, says Ethiopia's firm stance to peaceful means to resolving issues over the GERD is commendable. Shifero Lako reports.
Ethiopia is busy at hand in its pursuit of democracy and development, with the upcoming election on one hand and the second filling of its flagship project, Grand Renaissance Dam, on the other. The East African nation, at the same time, is in the midst of external pressures and foreign meddling trying to thwart this pursuit. Zambian Deputy Ambassador to Ethiopia, however, says Ethiopia should not let foreign meddling derail its development aspirations.
This is your country. You see, this is your country, and you know better what your people need to get. But otherwise, okay, you have to listen from the outsiders, and then put first your mind in your country. What is our people need? What do they want to benefit out of this? So otherwise, the foreign countries, they will be there to do what? To derail you, whatever you want at least to do.
He also encourages Ethiopia to conduct the second filling of the Grand Renaissance Dam as scheduled.
The Grand Dam, again, you see, I know you have about two countries who are fighting you. So they are fighting, but you know better what is your people want to gain out of that dam. So what I can say is you should go ahead and fill it up the dam.
Meanwhile, Indonesian ambassador to Ethiopia believes that the only way to solving the GERD issue is the negotiation table, and in this regard, he says Ethiopia is in the right.
GERD, Grand Renaissance Ethiopian Dams. We understand. Everybody knows that what is the problem on the table and also the problem on the field. I appreciate what the government of Ethiopia has been done to find the solutions for this kind of the discrepancies through peaceful means and negotiations.
They also say Ethiopia should press ahead with its elections, hoping that it will be free and fair.
The elections is an internal affair. That is an internal affair, so you know what is holding you up. So you need at least to hold the elections when you are free, and you know at least you do everything possible that it will be fair, free and fair.
About the elections, I think Ethiopia is one of the good examples to the world about democracy. How we maintain, how do we keep the democracy? So Ethiopia is one of the examples. And I myself really appreciate what the Ethiopian government has done toward the democracy.
Ethiopians across the nation are calling on some Western countries to stop meddling in the sovereign internal affairs of Ethiopia.
On May 19, 2021, the U.S. Senate passed Senate Resolution 97, which is at the core a call for a ceasefire between the government of Ethiopia and the Tigray People's Liberation Front, TPLF. A professor of political science at California State University, San Bernardino, Alemayo Gebremariam, calls the move a first step to restoring the TPLF to power. Alemayo, in his recent article, dubs the U.S. Resolution 97 as an act of a 21st century colonization. Solomon Daniel looks into the article.
Desperate to restore the TPLF clique to power, the U.S. Senate passed Resolution 97, which, according to Professor Alemayo Gebremariam, is a major propaganda offensive against Ethiopia intended to demoralize, dishearten and disconcert the people of Ethiopia and demonize and desecrate Ethiopia in the eyes of the world. The fact of the matter, Alemayo said, is that the TPLF, whose case the U.S. champions and coddles, has long been designated a terrorist group in the Global Terrorism Database and by the Terror Research and Analysis Consortium. The sole purpose of Senate Resolution 97 is to pressure the Ethiopian government to stop its law enforcement action in Tigray region and force it to negotiate power sharing with the TPLF terrorists. That ain't never gonna happen even if hell freezes over and the Princes of Darkness goes ice skating with the TPLF devils, Alemayo wrote. Seasoned politicians Dima Nagao and Andargacho Tsege share his views, backing the notion that TPLF will never get back to Ethiopia's political space whatsoever.
One thing is obvious, the TPLF is not going to be restored to power. It will not be restored. Any attempt by any external force will not make it possible for them to return to power. It's a spent force. It has discredited itself through 3 decades of maladministration, misrule, and gross violations of human rights throughout the country. It is a spent force. It cannot be returned to power, but the West wants to establish some leverage in the country so that it can influence future developments in this country.
Their calculation is based on one thing. The more they demand, in fact, the inclusion of the TPLF in national dialogue, that's what they are demanding. And the more they demand, the Oneg Shegne type of government organizations in the national dialogue, the more they demand, in fact, that individuals like the Brazilian and the others are allowed, in fact, to come back, to the political fold. They know that's involving these elements will weaken really the Ethiopian state. They know that will make it malleable for manipulation.
Alemayo, in his recent article, calls the resolution a desperate move to resurrect the Tigray People's Liberation Front from extinction. The article, in its strong words, speculates that the Susan Rice cabal, which includes Blinken, still hubristically believe they can run Ethiopia like a banana republic, using the TPLF as a dominant comparator of economic and political power in Ethiopia's region, using the pretext of a humanitarian crisis in Tigray. They further want to make Ethiopia a de facto state like what they did in Philippines several years ago, Alemayo said. He clearly stated that the U.S. Resolution 97 is not worth the paper it's written on.
Hi, my name is Brooke Thomas Haftued. I was born and raised in the UK. I do not like what the Egyptians are doing to Ethiopia. This is my dam.
It's my dam.
It's my dam. It's my dam. It's my dam.
It is my dam.
It is my dam.
It's my dam.
You're watching Addis News Hour. Scholars are urging for solidifying the nation's unity to succeed in the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam project. Talking to ETV today, university scholars reiterated Ethiopians can defend from foreign power interventions by strengthening their solidarity across the country. Habtamu Ashagri has more.
The government of Ethiopia is undertaking preparations to undertake the second water filling activity of Ged on the coming July. In an exclusive interview with ETV, university instructors said strengthening solidarity is a key instrument to finalize the construction of Ged. According to instructors, every foreign country needs to understand Ged construction is meant to solve the shortage of electricity without harming lower foreign countries.
Myself, my family, my friends, my children, everybody is really interested to support this for the finishing of this dam. This is our blood. I just said, if you don't have blood, you have no life. That's how I see it. So the dam is our blood, and it has to be completed, and really even our children and grandchildren really has to get this opportunity. So I think I'm fully supporting it, the government, for the finishing of this.
All elites and all peoples participate for this. The second peacefully open runs should have participate wisely, without neglect one another. We go together, we work together, we stand with together.
Amsadu added everyone needs to extend its support to finalize the realization of Ged without the pressure of foreign countries.
I know there are a lot of things going around the world, what people, organizations saying, countries saying, but we should not be afraid of that. So we cannot really afraid of any country, the Westerns or whatever. The country has its sovereignty, and we have to complete this. And I'm really supporting it, and all of us are in support of that. I have never heard any person who is against the dam. No one. If you ask the small children, they will tell you about it. So that's really a good promotion is going on, and we have to support it. That's what we have. So I'm in favor of the government to finish this dam.
Claiming a binding agreement by Egypt and Sudan is not reasonable to Ethiopia. Rather, agreements signed in the Declaration of Principles in 2015 are worthy to be implemented.
Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed said that Ethiopia's water, irrigation and energy sector has prioritized to meet the basic needs of its citizens during the past 3 years. Information obtained from the Office of the Prime Minister indicates a total of 56,790 urban and rural drinking water supply facilities have been completed to enable access to more than 15 million residents. It stated that Gibe 3 hydropower plant, generating 1,870 megawatts, the Genale Dawa 3 hydroelectric power plant, generating 254 megawatts, and the Repi waste-to-energy plant, generating 25 megawatts, have been completed and fully operational. Currently, 4,466 megawatts of electric power and a total of 19,746 kilometer transmission lines are in operation. Scholars pronounce that the second-round filling of GERD will play a prominent role in ensuring fair and reasonable use of water resources by avoiding Egypt and Sudan's explicit and subtle conspiracy against Ethiopia. Scholars noted that the second-round water filling is part of Ethiopia's economic development and security. Goshu Melliso has more.
Ethiopia is to commence the second filling of the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam in the upcoming rainy season, while Egypt and Sudan insisted on a legally binding agreement. Talking to ETV, Waldo University scholars said the filling of the GERD will play a prominent role in ensuring fair and equitable water use by avoiding Egypt's and Sudan's irresponsible pressure.
የህዳሴው ግድብ ከተገደበ በኋላ በራሱ የሚመጡ መልካም የሆኑ ነገሮች አሉ።
Good opportunities will come after Ethiopia completes its mega project. This will make Ethiopia a prosperous nation in East Africa. Egypt's threat is not a matter of water shortage. Rather, it's worried too much about its influential position in the Horn of Africa, while Ethiopia constructed the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam. Some external forces like US and others do not like Ethiopia's development. Currently, US has imposed visa restriction. If we were developed economically, external forces would not have pointed their fingers on us.
ማረጋገጫም ነው የደህንነት ማረጋገጫችንም ነው። ከዚህ አፍተር ኦል ምናልባት እንትንም ላያስፈልግ ይችላል። የጦር መሳሪያ ላያስፈልግ ይችላል። ህዳሴ ግድቡን ለመጠበቅ ራሱን ይጠብቃል ማለት ነው።
ከሁለተኛው ሙሊት በኋላ አሁን ያለው ኢንተርናሽናል ክራይሲስ
If Ethiopia achieve its second water filling successfully, it would be a great achievement. After the completion of the second GERD filling, I am sure all crises raised by international community will be seized. Therefore, to apprehend these, the second water filling of GERD should be conducted and all confusions by Egypt and Sudan will be stopped. Second filling of GERD is a step to move to another victory.
ዓለም አቀፍ ህብረተሰቡን ለማደናገር የሚሞክሩት ነገር ያኔ ቆማልና ወደ ድላችን የምንሄድበት መንገድ ነው ሁለተኛው ሙሊት ማለት።
The scholars called upon the public to fortify their unity more than ever to avert Egypt's and Sudan's explicit and delicate pressure against Ethiopia.
የውጭ ጥላትን የምትቋቋመው ውስጣዊ አንድነት ሲጠነክር ነው።
If you are internally strengthened, you will be able to resist any external enemy. After the Cold World War, the war strategy against one nation is completely changed. If a country wants to attack the other nation, it will not open a war directly. Rather, it may use your own citizens as an instrument.
The GERD is a flagship project. It is not a government project, rather it is a public project that people from all walks of life contributed to extricate themselves from poverty and darkness. This generation and the next generation will take part in this mega project like a relay.
According to the Ministry of Water, Irrigation and Energy, the overall construction of GERD has reached 80%.
President Sahle-Work Zewde calls for an augmented effort to create an ethical generation. Commissioner of the Federal Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission, Tsegga Arage, to his part, expressed the need to reinforce moral values of the society to avert corruption. This remark came when the Commission holds its 20th year anniversary, marking the day by recognizing best performers in fighting corruption. Alula Teklamariam has more.
Federal Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission was established in 2001 in the context of the accelerated internationalization of anti-corruption law. The mandate of the Commission is wide, spanning the prevention, investigation and prosecution of all forms of corruption in Ethiopia. Speaking on the 20th year anniversary of the Commission, President Sahle-Work Zewde called for an augmented effort to create ethical generation in the country.
ሙስና ነቀርሳ ነው፣ ካንሰር ነው።
Corruption is like cancer. Unless we fight at early stage, it could easily be widespread and can be out of control. We, the government officials in different positions, are mandated to primarily avert corruption. We make this happen if we truly discharge our responsibilities regardless of those challenges. It's essential to execute law and order in this regard.
Commissioner of the Federal Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission, Tsegga Arage, to his part expressed the need to reinforce moral values of the society to avert corruption. He cites possible ways to break the syncope and focus on preventive measures.
It is time for a paradigm shift on the fight against corruption. We need to brace efforts underpinned by strong policies. To be out of this routine, we just need to have citizen-centered policies that intensify ethical and moral values of the society. This is believed to bring about basic changes on the generation. Besides, it's significant to focus on preventive approach for averting corruption.
The Federal Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission held its 20th year anniversary, marking the day by recognizing best performance and fighting against corruption.
In business news, Ethiopian Textile Industry Development Institute announces it has registered remarkable achievement in earning foreign currency from the textile industry. The 9th International Conference on Cotton, Textile and Apparel and Value Chain in Africa has been held in Bahir Dar City with the aim of increasing fruitfulness of the industry. Jerusalem Betzaha has more.
Ethiopian government has been working aggressively to modernize the textile industry. Currently, the annual income of the industry has reached $200 million USD, but this number was $2 million USD 10 years ago. The 9th International Conference on Cotton, Textile and Apparel and Value Chain in Africa, which has been held in Bahir Dar with the aim of revamping the industry, highlighted there remains a long way to achieve aspirations of the industry.
Based on our evaluation, the industry is now on the right path. Of course, our vision is more than this achievement, but there is a big difference between income generating and the textile industry sector development. However, the sector by itself is developing and its income generation is also very encouraging. Now the sector has registered over $200 million annually through covering the local demand.
Functioning based on knowledge was also highlighted on the conference as a good experience for the achievements of the sector.
Comparing with the previous years, the current performance of industries in using knowledge and technologies is encouraging. Resources could always be integrated with knowledge. If not, it is difficult to be competitive in the international market.
Some scholars also recommended higher educational institutions, private sector and industries should be working together for further sustainable achievement.
In the previous times, there was a gap between higher educational institutions, private sector and industries in jointly working for one purpose. Therefore, they should be integrated and working together to make a difference in the textile sector. On the other hand, if they are integrated, they make innovation and we will be competent enough.
Ethiopia has a long tradition of cotton cultivation with an estimated area of 2.6 million hectares suitable for this product.
You're watching Addis News Hour. A quick reminder of today's headlines. Ethiopian government finds it unfortunate the United States continues exerting undue pressure on Ethiopia. And ambassadors say Ethiopia should not be distracted by foreign meddling and external pressures. And that's all we had for now. I'm Tabitha John. Many thanks for watching. Good night.